The grounds on which we are standing belong to the Monticello and Sangamon Valley Railway Historical Society. This organization was founded in 1966 by Ted Lehman, who was at that time a student at Illinois Wesleyan University. The railroad yard in which we are presently standing was at that time a popcorn field, about 6 feet lower in the middle than at either end, and we had to do a great deal of bulldozing in here before we could get things ready to lay our track. All of the work out here was done by volunteer labor with a large number of hours of, if I may paraphrase someone else, a great deal of blood, tears, toil, and sweat. I'm Charlie Day. I'm the traveling engineer for the Monticello and Sangamon Valley Railway Historical Society. The traveling engineer's function is basically that of training locomotive engineers and firemen and overseeing the operation of the motive power, the steam motive power in this case. With me is Tom Scott Jr., who has been with our organization for several years and has become one of our qualified engineers as well, and is going to be helping with the demonstrations that we'll be putting on for you of firing and operating steam locomotives. The locomotive that we're going to be working with primarily is our museum's #1. This engine originally belonged to Western Indiana Aggregate and Stone in Montezuma, Indiana. They quit using it in 1960 and shunted it out to the end of one of their tracks, where it stayed rusting away until 1966 when our organization purchased it. We have been using it out here since 1971. It is our main operational locomotive. It was built in 1930. The tender that we are using was donated by the Illinois Central Railroad, and to the best of the knowledge of some of their people was originally used on one of their 440s or 460s. So it is an old tender. It actually has the curlicue hook on the back for hanging a coal oil lantern on it. So it's right in keeping with our operational theme here. I would suggest to anybody that operates one of these things or that is contemplating doing it that they try to find copies of some of the old locomotive catechisms or books like that. They cost money, but if you can find them, they're worth having, because they describe all this stuff in detail and describe the problems that can happen and how to go about fixing them. I've got a couple I brought along just as samples. This is one that's on locomotive and the air brake, put out by the International Correspondence Schools of Scranton, Pennsylvania, years and years ago. Of course, they have a whole series of these. And there's another one that's a standard Forney's Catechism of the Locomotive. And there's Grimshaw's Locomotive Catechism. One of these, I believe, Grimshaw's, I think, has been recently reprinted.
Where do you search these books out?
Most of these I have found in closeouts at old big city libraries or university libraries, things like that, where they're needing space and they find they've got certain books that haven't been checked out since 1910 or something like that, and so they put them on sale. That's the cheapest way to find them. If you find them at Railroadiana sales and things like that, they're going to cost you considerable more.
Mm-hmm.
What you are looking at here is a cutaway section of an Atlantic type steam locomotive. It's cut away so that you can see the interior of the locomotive as to how it actually works. Basically, the operation of this thing is very simple. The fire in the firebox will boil the water and create steam, which collects above the water level in the upper part of the boiler. When the engineer pulls on the throttle back in the cab, the throttle valve here is opened, permitting steam from the boiler to come into the dry pipe. In this case, it's going to go through the superheater tubes, because this engine is superheated, and then down into the valve. From the valve, the steam will be admitted into the cylinder to push the piston in the desired direction, whether you're running forwards or backwards. And of course, as this piston moves, it's connected by a wrist pin at the crosshead to the main drive rod, and it transmits its motion and energy to this main drive rod, which is connected at the main crank to one of the drivers.